Hello and welcome to the FullStackDev tutorial series. In this video, we'll be configuring and setting up front-end tests. In the previous video, we set up PyTest for the Flask backend and added endpoints for end-to-end testing. We ran our first unit tests, and all the tests passed, confirming that the test config is working as intended. From this point moving forward, we'll be shifting focus from unit testing to end-to-end testing. Our app is instrumented on the front end, and we will actually be running coverage on the back-end server code, while simultaneously running front-end tests with Cypress. We'll combine coverage totals from both the back-end and front-end tests, giving us a more thorough, comprehensive look at the project's overall test coverage. This won't come into play here as much until we set up the CI/CD pipeline in the following video, but we can go ahead and get Cypress up and running now. The first thing we'll need is an nycrc config. Here we'll define the reporter type and the extension, and you can set the starter watermark thresholds to your project needs. Next, we'll create Cypress config.js. And here we'll define the end-to-end configuration, including the tasks required to set up and tear down the test database. In the Cypress directory, we need to create two directories, E2E and support. The E2E directory will contain the actual end-to-end tests, and the support files will let us control how the tests run. The before each function will capture information from each request. And in commands.js, obviously, we'll register any useful commands. The entirety of these configurations are taken directly from the Cypress documentation. I'd highly recommend taking a look if you're not familiar with these settings. We've added a command to authenticate a test user, but we don't have the corresponding endpoint yet. Let's create that now in CyTasks.py. Now we should be able to UX as an authenticated user. We'll also need to add the endpoint for create test user. Let's do that now. And another thing I'm noticing here is that the create session function is using dot notation, which won't work with the user dictionary as we have it defined. We can change the user dictionary to a class object so that create session can properly deconstruct the data. And I've also noticed there's a typo in the E2E.js before each function. The intercept for all API requests is missing an asterisk. With those errors addressed, we're ready to write some tests with Cypress. Following the folder structure of the source directory, we'll create an app directory containing an auth directory and a landing directory. First, we'll create a test to check the landing page JWT protected route. Then we'll create a test to submit the sign-up form. And sign-up.js is actually nested in the auth components directory, so let's keep that organizational structure in the tests as well. Since we're now running end-to-end tests, we'll need to bring up the test database and the Flask test server version by exporting the useTest API variable. We'll need to be in the server directory and run the Flask command, specifying port 5001. Then we'll bring up the instrumented React dev server. Now we can run the Cypress suite, and we should see Cypress find and run the to test, and if everything goes as expected, the tests should pass. Fantastic! Our tests passed. The sign-up form properly submits and redirects to the confirmation code route, and the JWT protected route is behaving as intended based on the user authentication status. We now have everything we need to run full end-to-end tests on our application. This will allow us to run combined coverage from both PyTest and Cypress, which we'll be covering in the next video, where we'll build GitHub Actions workflows for continuous integration and continuous deployment. Looking forward to seeing you there. And with that, we'll bring this video to an end. As always, thank you for watching the FullStackDev tutorial video series. If you have found these videos helpful in any way, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you again soon.